This is a podcast or something like that. Hey, yeah, so I got a piano. You may have noticed that was more piano than talking so far. That's because I got a piano that I now have. And I don't think I mentioned this on a podcast episode. I did mention it on a live stream on Twitch at some point in the last few weeks that I was getting a piano. I might have mentioned it on the podcast, but I was sort of nervous about it, so I didn't really talk about it because I was like, is it actually going to happen? Basically, a family member of mine just moved and didn't have anywhere to put this piano. And I was like, I mean, I would take it if you don't want to pay for storage, but yeah. So we got it moved in, and I now have a fucking piano. It's really wild. It's really nice. So there are a few different types of pianos. There's what's called an upright piano, where it's still fantastic, but it's not like the one with a full body, which is a grand piano. And what I have is in between. It's called a baby grand. So it has a body to it, like a sort of a mouth or like a front to it. It's not just a keyboard, but it's not the full. It's not the full extension of, a fully grand piano, which can be a lot. So I'm extremely excited about this, but I've had this weird anxiety for the last few days since it was moved in. It's now like day 4 or something. Okay, it was moved in on Wednesday. Okay, so Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday. So it's day 4. What time is it? Yeah. It was moved in over 4 full days ago, okay? You want to know what I've been anxious about, Verbal Journal audience? I'm anxious about the idea of it falling through my floor. I live on the 2nd floor, so I just have this nightmare image of like, what if it's like not, supportive, this building. And I'm actually friends with my downstairs neighbors. So we were hanging out the other day and they were checking out the piano. And I said this to my friend that I'm worried about it. And he's not worried. So I think I'm just being anxious. But we joked about it because it's, you never know. I mean, we don't live in like the nicest place. It's like, it's hard to know for sure. And the first like few days, honestly, up until today, I thought there was a slight creak in the floor that I didn't remember being there before. But the floor is super creaky. It's a hardwood or maybe softwood. I'm not really sure. I'm just learning the difference. I didn't even know softwood was a fucking thing. I just thought it was hardwood. I thought that was the only type of wood that existed. So I think it's softwood. I've been trying to figure out. I'm not really sure. But either way, obviously floors can only hold so much weight. And I haven't known the exact type of piano because my family member didn't know the exact type. But we're pretty sure after looking it up, I'm pretty sure that I'll just tell you, it's a Kawai GL10 baby grand piano, if I'm not mistaken. Um, and I measured it, and the dimensions are the exact same as on the website. And it says it's 622 pounds, meaning that, let's round that up to 650 just to be safe. Apparently, the building code in the United States is that I think it's like, okay, I just got distracted for a little bit because I was looking up building security codes. I don't know what the code is, but it's somewhere like each square foot of floor needs to support something like 30 or 40 pounds. It seems to be somewhere in between that or one of those or both of those, depending on the type of room or something. Or it could be different in different, I'm not quite sure, but it's something around that. So the piano takes up about 20 square feet. I keep estimating a smaller amount, like 18, just to be safe. So if it's about 18, if it does actually hold 40 pounds per square foot, that should be like 750, like, or something. That should be well over what I need for the piano. But it's just something I'm honestly nervous about. Anyways, hope you enjoyed the piano playing. There will be more of that. I was hanging out with my friend today. Wow, do you hear that motorcycle? Ooh, it's singing. Ooh. Okay. I was hanging out with my friend today, and they said, I was telling them about my fear of the piano falling through the floor, and they've been to my apartment in the last few days. They've seen the piano, and they laughed when I said that. So I think I'm being irrational, but they asked me how long it would take for me to be like confident with it. And that's such a good question. I think the fact that little creak I thought I felt in the floor went away, that feels like a good sign, because it felt like the floor was just in the most slight way shifting a little bit. And I was like, that's not cool. I'm not okay with that. Also, I think this might fully be anxiety. I think this literally might be just me being anxious, and a little bit, it's a big adjustment to make, having this huge new piece of furniture take up a lot of space. And I think it's just a little bit nerve-wracking. Now, the good news is, well, we're already quite a while into this podcast. The good news is there happens to be a building inspection going on Wednesday. So my plan is to just wait until Wednesday, or if there's any more creaking, I'm just going to bite the bullet and tell my landlord, who I have not told about this because I don't think I need to. I don't think it's doing anything wrong. But at the same token, I realized as I was taking a shower earlier today, if I'm not afraid that I'm doing anything wrong, if I don't believe they have the power to tell me no, then I don't need to be afraid of telling them about it. So, it's just a matter of whether I feel like I need to tell them before an inspector comes on Wednesday. So, that's been my excitement. If you enjoyed the piano, there's going to be some more at the end. I played for a few minutes and wanted to tack on some at the end, so it wasn't too long of an intro, but I had a little fun with it. That was kind of the first I've recorded my piano playing here. It was very, it was, as I was playing, now it's many hours later. But as I was playing that, it's like 6 hours later. As I was playing that, I was like, this is, beautiful sounding. The piano, I didn't record it well. The room sound is way too significant. It was a good test to see, the room sound is very significant. Definitely got to find a way to mic the piano differently, but that was just a first extremely casual attempt. But I was just thinking, wow, okay, this sounds really good because everything sounds good on the piano, but this is definitely not, the chords were not all coming together, especially the part at the end. You'll hear I'm plucking a little bit. I wasn't always, hitting the ideal notes. I was improvising, and I wouldn't have minded some of the notes being different. But when I thought about that while I was playing, I was like, oh, it's kind of funny because it's sort of like the podcast in the sense that it's, kind of just improvised, and, it's like, it's fine in certain qualities, but that fineness, that mediocrity is like part of its beauty, so I thought it was perfect for the podcast. Okay, so yeah, we are now up and running. Episode 23 of the Verbal Journal podcast. Now, I will tell you, I actually got the episode number wrong, but it was before I started here at the podcast. So earlier today, when I made a file to put the piano recording in when I recorded it. So I made my next podcast episode video file in Adobe Premiere Elements. And I thought it was 22. I got it wrong. It was 23. So I was actually wrong. I didn't check, which is, the tradition. We try not to check what episode number it is. And it happened, y'all. It really did happen for the first time. I was just dead wrong. So I had to admit that, own up to that, be honest about that. And I'm sorry. And I will try to do better. I hope you're doing well. I thank you for tuning in again to this podcast, or tuning in for the first time if you'd like to. It's different every week. I just go through different subjects. I sort of enjoy kind of exploring different topics. I let you know what I've been up to. This past week, as I think I mentioned on the last podcast, I was on vacation. I didn't work at all. I opened some mail and emailed some people, but mostly didn't work. I did work on a lot of art, and I got out. I went bike riding. I went just got in the sun. I had a good time. I spent good times with friends. I got this piano delivered. So it's been a really good week, and I'm ready to go back to work tomorrow. And then I get July 4th off the day after, but so it's going to be interesting to go back to work after. This is the longest I've taken off in a very long time. I don't know. Maybe I took a week off last year. Did I? I mean, I guess I did for my friend's wedding 2 years ago. Did I take a full week off last year? I don't know, but yeah. So there's just it's been a good time, and I've done a lot creatively. I got to sort of beginning really continuing in a way that sort of restarted and rejuvenated this project, which is maybe originally I was thinking of as a video idea, but I sort of think might be more potentially a book or something. So I'm trying to figure it out and just get my thoughts out. But basically, I just want to write about relationship conflicts and sort of my way of seeing healthy ways of resolving conflicts in relationships, especially friendship and romantic relationships, and just what I see to be the common patterns and what I see to be the sort of most important basic aspects of the process of resolving conflict and basically communicating. I don't know. I listen to a lot of stuff, and sometimes I really do feel wait a second, there's a lot of patterns here. I want to try to write these down. One other thing I did this past week was I had the idea I wanted to make this flow chart, and I want to do more flow charts. They're very interesting, and they are sort of imitating how we think, or how we can think in a way. But yeah, I was trying to do a flowchart for something how you can respond to a thought that's anxious. For instance, what does that person think of me? Or does that person think X about me? Does that person think I'm, stupid or ugly or something or whatever, irresponsible, evil or whatever. And then you can sort of go through this flowchart. It sort of starts well, can I know what this person thinks about me? Yes or no? And then it's if yes, do I know? And it sort of goes through a bunch of different things. And it's really not even a first draft yet, but I want to come up with stuff like that to sort of go through I hit the mic. To sort of go through what I see as the important processes of how we go about thinking through difficult problems. I think there's a way that I could sort of potentially write out a thought process that would be helpful, or just I don't know. I want to put more time into writing about my work and the mind and stuff. There's a lot of things I want to get out that aren't really ideal for YouTube videos. Another thing I've been doing is writing some fiction, which has been fun. Just a little bit, just a little bit. Hopefully going to get more back into it. But I did do some great writing. I got very inspired recently, and one thing I wanted to talk about was the thing that inspired me, which is Chris Locke, a comedian in Canada, or as some people say, so-called Canada, because these countries. So Chris Locke is a very funny comedian, and I found out about him through Chris James, the Not Even a Show guy, who I'm a fan of, who I listen to his podcasts and stuff. And he mentioned Chris Locke and said and keep in mind, I'm not saying Chris Rock. Okay. Chris Locke, Locke. So yeah, he's a comedian, and he just really does really out there stuff in the sense that like it's really not like a regular comedian. It really does sort of stretch your definition of comedy, and I definitely wanted to talk about it because it lines up with stuff we've talked about sort of artistic expression and going outside of a form or structure, and he really does that with comedy. It's really next level. It wouldn't be everybody's cup of tea, but like he released this video on his YouTube channel just a few weeks ago of his birthday. He does like birthday shows, I think. He has done a few of them on his birthday. He'll do an hour set or 45 minutes or something. And it basically, what's so amazing about it is it really feels like you're in like Alice in Wonderland or like a Kafka story, but like very, very funny, even more funny than those. And he really does somehow stretch the understanding of stand-up comedy so much that he allows himself to just make things up. And he's creating fiction, but it's, so do many stand-up comedians, but he's doing it in such an exaggerated and like surreal way. And it's really beautiful. He's really making art, it feels like. And it was extremely inspiring to me as a writer. It made me really immediately want to start writing fiction. Because it just made me realize like, wow, you could just escalate in so many different ways. You could just have anything happen. You just got to have fun with it and get the seed and then just keep going with it, just get some idea. So the seed for the little story I started working on is just an experience I had going into a hardware store at some point to get like help with something, and then feeling like the guy at the hardware store like fucking hated me or something. Like he just seemed super weird and like put off. And so I was like, what if I wrote a story about that and just like made it really excessive? Like so it's I think there's a lot you can do with any sort of just slightly weird experience you have in life. So what I did, because I was so into this, and I know Chris Locke is like kind of riffing, like he's got it all planned out and he's rehearsed it many times, but he's riffing too at the same time. And so what I did was my favorite part of his set was like this sort of 10-minute bit, and I typed it up. I rewatched it and I typed it up exactly as he says it, with all the ways he says it and all the pauses and whatevers and ums and tense changes and whatever. And it's beautiful. It's so beautiful. And I was thinking of like, I think there's some famous story of like, there's probably a few different stories of this, but like, I think Hunter S. Thompson has famously said that he at one point typed up The Great Gatsby or some F. Scott Fitzgerald book to feel what it felt like to write like him. I might have my people wrong. I think that's who it was. And then, so it is just interesting to like type up somebody else's words and sort of like feel it out from their perspective. But I'm really glad I did it. It was super interesting to read, and it helps me even be more inspired more. It's exact, because that's why it inspired me, because in my mind I was feeling it as a piece of written fiction. So to see it that way was really cool, and I really want to share it with you, but I can't. You just got to go listen to it. I'm not gonna do his whole bit, but it's the bit about the doctor and the naturopath. If you go and listen, it's like 30-40 minutes in. It's really ridiculous. Okay. One thing I wanted to talk about really briefly this week, and I do plan out things, by the way, for the verbal journal. I have a Google Doc, verbal journal, Google Doc, and I just throw ideas in there throughout the week. So typing up Chris Locke's bit was one of them. Next one is, it says, YouTube's radicalizing suggestions, even well beyond the right-wing stuff, just an attitude. Some guy saying democracy can't work because humans are arslers. Basketball videos based, oh yeah, and then I stopped typing for some reason. I got distracted. But basketball videos based on the, just like over and over about the players trying to perform for sexually attractive, a female appearing fans. Like, it's just the most fucking, like, so, okay. So I just, as someone who uses YouTube too much, I just started picking up recently on like, there's just a more subtle radicalization that seems to just constantly go on where, like, if you're interested in anything, you're led into like edgy versions of it. And yeah, the first one I showed, some guy just saying democracy can't work because humans are arslers. We're disabled, but with like a slur to describe it. And it's like, okay, like, cool, thanks, YouTube. That was really funny. Oh my gosh. Or like a video of like some prank that goes like way beyond being okay. And like, and people in the comments just being like, haha. It's really just, I don't know. I mean, it's just, it kind of makes you think, I guess, and reflect on the power that these platforms have and potentially the responsibility with them. That reminds me of something that was coming up in the sort of psychological writing I was doing this past week. Like I was flipping around the idea of like, with great power comes great responsibility, because it's also true that with great responsibility comes great power. And I was sort of just thinking about how, like, when you do have responsibility, you sort of do have to take on more power, and that's a challenge to navigate in relationships, is what the appropriate amount of power is that corresponds with various types of responsibility, especially when things can be perceived really differently by different people. One thing I've been thinking about recently too, it's not even in the Google Doc, I just reminded myself, is like people just have really different ways of communicating and using language, and just very different motivations for using language. Some people use it more as like a bridge. Some people use it more as like a wall or a shield. I feel like you can kind of use things in a lot of different ways, and you can say one thing and mean a very different thing. So one thing, I guess I didn't really have anything else to say about that, but I wanted to quickly do the good comment of the week and the misunderstanding comment of the week segment. Gonna get a lot of hate mail about that. So the good comment of the week, we're starting with the good comment this time. The good comment is on the Better Call Saul Part 3 Kim and Jimmy's Love video. It says, so this is me sharing someone being very positive about my videos. They say, I can't get enough of this. It's enthralling. I've got a degree in psych and I've worked in similar helping professions as our narrator. First of all, I just want to comment, it's good to not refer to the YouTube creator as you. It's good to not address your comment to the YouTube creator. It really is. Like, I do it sometimes, so don't get me wrong. It's not like evil or something, obviously. But it is very wise and reasonable to just comment talking. If you want to talk about the creator, fair enough. But talking to them, I think it's not the right vibe. I think, even though creators read the comments a lot of times, it's very polite to imply that you think they might not. So this person says, I've got a degree in psych and have worked in similar helping professions as our narrator. He makes me think I need to do better as a therapist. If you know, you know. If you don't, no worries. Enjoy 3 fantastic vids for what they are. I like that they commented that not knowing I had 8 videos in that series. That's super interesting. I love how they say, if you know, you know. But the idea that my commentary on the show made someone feel like they need to do better as a therapist is amazing. I think I've said this on one of the previous episodes, but like, I did originally decide to make a YouTube channel thinking, okay, it'll be like from a therapist to therapists, or it'll be cool to like inspire people not to go into therapy, but to like be therapy informed, which is sort of the way I've gone. But like, it was also the idea of like, I will actually be talking to other people in my field, and that will be part of my goal, a big part of my goal. It's become a less of a big part of my goal. I did do the video tips for therapists, and I'm definitely going to do more of that. It's not because I think I'm better than other therapists. I think anyone can do this in your field of work. Everybody has ideas for how things could be improved and should share them. So yeah, very cool that I made this person feel they need to do better as a therapist. That is so cool. Because that doesn't mean you're not good enough. It just means you can do better, you know. And the misunderstanding comment of the week, I didn't really get any bad comments this past week. So this one's just from today, and it's not that bad. But they they say, how the freak did this 3-hour Breaking Bad / Better Call Saul video get 3 million views? Yeah, so that was a misunderstanding comment of the week, because it's not a 3-hour video. It's 2 hours and 43 minutes and 40 seconds. So that's a huge difference. It's not 3 hours. But yeah, actually, they commented when it had 2.99 or something, but it did hit 3 million views today, this morning. Now let's just take a minute to kind of soak that in and celebrate that. 3 million views. 3 and then 1 million zeros, right? That's how that works. So it's a 3 and then 1 million zeros. So 3 million. Isn't that amazing? It's pretty... now, the funny thing about that is 3 million is actually my lucky number. So I don't know if you believe in magic or miracles or manifesting or money, or money just starts with an M. It doesn't really make sense in that context. But 3 million is my lucky number, so it's just very coincidental. I guess we'll just say that it's a coincidence, okay? 3 million views. What are my feelings about that? It's the if you asked me if I thought the video was going to get 1 million views before I released it, I would have said no, probably not, but it's possible. I definitely was not expecting 1 million views. Definitely was not expecting 2 million views. I guess I figured it would be my most viewed, but that would be 600,000 or something, you know? So it's like, yeah, it's really, really, really wild that it exploded like that and brought in so many new people to the channel. And it's, you know, it's a very impressive achievement, and I'm extremely happy to have this video just there with a 3M next to it. It really, I like that the views are coming a lot slower now, so it's just going to say 3M for a long time, which is really awesome. I mean, it's really just like, just seeing an M on my page, a capital M, not like lowercase m for like 9 months ago or something, you know what I mean? So yeah, I guess the moral of the story is, you know, if you're sick with COVID in January 2022, and you feel like maybe rewatching Better Call Saul to get ready for the next season eventually coming out and to just enjoy it, I guess the moral of the story is go for it. And then if you start to think, hey, maybe I should take some notes, and maybe I could actually make a video about this, you know, I say go for it. No, but it really, I mean, yeah, I think it's like, I never I did. You can hear me in the early videos making predictions about the series. Oh, it's going to be 4 videos or 5. You know, but yeah, you can just go with it, and it's fun to just do the project. I've enjoyed pretty much every minute of it. Not really. Like, there's been a lot of, there's a lot of frustrating moments, but there's never been moments where I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't do this or anything. You can hear the ASMR thing I posted a few months ago from when I was recording this most recent video, and I was halfway through, and I'm like, what the fuck? Why did I make the script so long? What is wrong with me? But, I was just mostly just blowing off steam. There's never been a point where I'm like, oh, I wish I didn't, go for this, because it's just been slow and steady, and, So, yeah, it's going to be interesting to see where to go next with the channel. But, yeah, there'll definitely be something. I got a few things in the works, but they're taking a while, and I'm really in no rush. I could go watch The Sopranos right now, but I gotta take it slow. There's all the time in the world. So yeah, very cool. 3 million views, and the channel itself has 5.2 million views. So that video has well over half the video views of the entire channel. You want to know the number of impressions? The thumbnail has been shown to people. The thumbnail of fucking Walt that I snatched has been shown to people 30 million times. 30.8 million times. Wow. So yeah, that's pretty cool and good and okay. So next, we're going to talk about, oh yeah. So yeah, I don't know if you've heard about this show, The Idol. It's this show. I don't even think it's popular necessarily, but a lot of people are talking about it. You may have seen a lot of people give their takes about it. You may have watched it. I haven't watched it. And the thing is, I've seen a lot of people give their perspective. I've watched a few videos. I watched D'Angelo Wallace's video. I watched, what was her name? Hold on. I watched another video. That's not her name. Okay. I watched another video about it. And I forget the creator's name. They were very funny, and they were good. So I wanted to say my thoughts about it, because I thought that one thing that was missing from the conversation was the perspective of someone who hasn't watched the show. I think, you can hear all these people say, oh, these are the themes that come up in the show. These are this and that. I don't know that it really gives you a full picture until you appreciate the perspective of someone who has not seen the show and will not see the show. So, what do I think about The Idol? I don't really have that much to say. No, The Weeknd is interesting to me because his songs are definitely like probably my biggest guilty pleasure when it comes to music, in the sense that I feel like, I don't know, like every song by The Weeknd kind of makes you feel a little dirty when you listen to it. And it's like, I can only really listen to like a very small percent of them. I have a few of them, but those ones I think are amazing. There's the famous ones. All the famous ones are good. Whatever, Bright Lights or whatever, whatever that one's called. The Starboy one and so on. But Secrets, right? Is that one called Secrets? There's just a lot of really, really, really good ones. Is it called Secrets? Wait, hold on. I'm like, Secrets, The Weeknd. Yep, it's called Secrets. How does it go? Let's see. Is this going to be loud? Hold on. Secrets. Oh, it's on the Starboy album, right? But it's even better. Yeah, it's just ridiculous. I mean, hear how the beat drops right now. Yeah, I mean, it's really good. And then the chorus. I mean, ridiculously good. And that one is about him being hurt by the other person, so it's more tolerable for me. A lot of his music, and especially the music I can't listen to, is he just makes a lot of music that's like, gosh darn, I can't stop hurting everybody. Golly gee, I just can't stop. I'm hurting everybody I have sexual intercourse with. Oh gosh, golly, I just keep hurting all of them. That's honestly the vibe I get from a lot of his music. It feels pathetic. I have no respect for it. It's not interesting art, and I dislike it. And so that's sort of the impression I'm getting that a lot of people feel about The Idol. And there are some things about these videos I've seen that do commentary on it that I just blow my mind. Apparently, there are actual songs by The Weeknd in The Idol. Like, he puts his own music in The Idol, which just completely, like, why? Why would you do that? And maybe he says in an interview, and I don't fucking care, like, that seems like such a bad idea. It completely detracts from any understanding of this as satire. And I don't know that it's supposed to be satire. That was a word I think D'Angelo Wallace used in his video, or someone did. Like, I don't know if The Idol is meant to be satire, but if they talk about it as satire, in the commentary I've seen on it, it doesn't seem to be satire. Now, again, I was sort of joking, but like, this is the perspective of someone who has not seen the show, so maybe I'm missing none of the satirical elements really come across to the people I've watched their commentary, and it doesn't come across through their commentary. You can't just portray something and call it satire, though. And really, I think I get a vibe for the show, as much as I'm joking about and about being aware I don't really know something I've never seen. Let's be honest, I do get some vibe. I don't think it's satire because it's just a very extreme version, but it doesn't seem to be different in an extreme enough way than reality, or in any sort of substantial, exaggerated ways. Like for example, Arrested Development is satire. Now, I guess, could there be not funny satire? That's actually something I didn't even think about before recording this. Maybe I just don't really get how something can be non-funny, like dramatic satire. I don't think that's really something that makes sense to me. So maybe there is some version of non-funny satire, but yeah, it does seem that The Weeknd in this show is doing what he does in his songs that I dislike, which is probably sort of exaggerating hopefully exaggerating his actual behavior, because in the show, from what I understand, he's causing enormous harm to the people around him. So, and in the songs, it's usually more it's more emotional abuse, and I guess just like overall misleading people. But like negligence, emotional negligence. But so there's obviously value in exaggerating or even just representing your own faults or your own behaviors, and I don't care what he's like as an actual person necessarily, but it's clear that so much of his art centers around, oh my gosh, I can't stop hurting the people around me because I just want to live this life, and that involves hurting people around me. And it's pretty shallow in some ways, but it does come across like you can give a lot of meaning to it. The show itself, from everything I'm seeing of it, it feels like I don't know where the commentary would come. I guess there are like the characters who are more reasonable and stuff, and then it was making me think of Better Call Saul in a way, because it was like about this person sort of getting caught up in more and more bad schemes, and from what it seemed like, it's almost like the main characters, like the singer and the Weeknd's character, are like almost forming, in a sense, this toxic couple. But in a much different way than obviously Kim and Jimmy or, Skylar and Walter. But, yeah, it was just making me think of like the function of drama and like, I guess I don't want to sit down and watch people just like abuse and harass each other. I would want that to be a small percent. And then a lot of people comment on the gratuitous nudity, which is interesting because like obviously nudity is cool. There's nothing wrong with showing nudity, but it does. I don't know. I think he famously like thought the show was too feminine and brought in a male director. So it does sort of make you wonder. It's, mostly female nudity, I think. And it's a really weird show, and it involves a lot of really dark themes. I would never want to watch it because it doesn't seem to comment on those dark themes in any sort of way. It just sort of throws them up on the page, which is what I don't like about his very unself-aware "Oops, I'm hurting people" songs, which are a lot of them. Okay, next segment of the week is my fantasy baseball update, a short segment. I am losing this week. There's no chance of me coming back. I didn't even try to change all my pitchers and get a bunch of pitchers that are throwing today to get some Hail Mary at the end, because at the end of the day, that leaves you with bad pitchers, and I'm just going to try to go into next week. I'm in the bottom of my bracket. I'm doing poorly. I'm like 5-9 after this week or something. But I'm going to try to come back. I genuinely have a really good roster still. Things could genuinely totally turn around. So now, the chess update of the week is pretty cool. I'm just going to talk about myself for the chess update. There's no major chess going on that I've been watching, but there is a lot of major chess going on. I just haven't been watching it. But I've been playing a lot of these arena tournaments. I finally got my Lichess streamer page. I'm an official Lichess streamer. So when I stream on Twitch, I can let Lichess know, and they post my stream, and people can click on it. And I also participate in a lot of Lichess arena tournaments. I do them almost every night, 10 p.m., 11 p.m. Well, I won't be able to qualify for those two that I have been doing because I played so well yesterday that my rating broke 1,500 in Blitz, 5-minute, 3-minute games. And I now cannot play in those under 1,500 tournaments. I have to do the under 1,700 tournaments. But yeah, this past week I came in first in 2 of these tournaments. So the way these tournaments work is you have 1 hour and you play as many games as you can in the pool of people, in the arena of people. You play as many games as you can. You get points when you win. You don't get points when you lose. You get points for winning consecutive games. And there are these 2 tournaments. The first one, they're both 3-minute games. 3-minute, each player starts with 3 minutes and no increment. You don't get any added time per move. So time can be a huge factor, which is good because I'm in a mood to play very quick when I'm doing this. First tournament was on June 29th. So that was Thursday, I believe. And then the second tournament was yesterday. The first tournament was at 2 a.m. on Thursday, so late Wednesday night. And last tournament was 10 p.m. yesterday. So, yeah, it was very cool at 2 a.m. Extremely sort of just like, shouldn't have been awake. I did not lose a game in that tournament. 2, 4, 6, 8. Wait, 2, 4, 6, 8, 10, 11. Oh, yeah, and then I was supposed to be 12, actually, because, the person. What they do, because in these arena tournaments, because it's time-based, you get an hour for the tournament. If the last game doesn't finish before the tournament ends, then it doesn't count for the tournament, even though it still counts for your rating. So people will time out. They'll just stall out the game at the end, which is complete troll behavior, just absolutely pathetic and lacking in any sort of character. And it's actually fascinating from a psychological perspective because I don't know if people realize this, but they do not benefit from that. So let me explain the details again. You get points for winning. You do not lose points for losing. You just don't gain points. So if they resign that game and let me get those points, which it doesn't matter because I absolutely dominated in both these tournaments by an amount. Oh my God, by the same amount. I got 40 points in both tournaments. You get 2 points for each win, and then you get 4 points when it's your third or more win in a row. And I got 2 points, and then 4 points for the next 9 games. So I got 40 points total, which is fucking so good for these tournaments. And the next number 2 got 24. Number 3 got 20. Number 2 got 24, and number 3 got 24 in the other one. So I fucking crushed. I won 12 in a row if you count the last game. And in the one yesterday, I won 13 out of 14 if you count the last game. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. Yeah. 13 out of 14 because they did the same thing again. They stalled out, which it's funny to do that when you're playing the person who's already winning the tournament. And I was in a really bad mood yesterday because I was sort of just like feeling some type of way about something that's not even that important or worth explaining, but basically just a slight amount of tension in a relationship with a family member. And I was just feeling shitty about it. And it was fun to absolutely fucking crush a tournament in a really bad mood just to win 13 games out of 14. And my rating is fucking amazing now, and I don't even qualify for these tournaments. So now I go in the under 1700. I am a little fish in a big pond, and I'm gonna get eaten up. Okay. On that note, speaking of getting eaten, oh yeah, it's the highest blitz rating I've been in 3 months. So yeah, last time I was just blitz rating was 3 months ago. So, okay. But yeah, speaking of being eaten, my screen time report is the next segment, the segment we love to do where I share my weekly screen time report that my phone shows me. A little bit more than usual. I think I watched a video on my screen yesterday. Yeah, I did. I watched that video. I could not remember the creator's name about the idol. Should I look that up right now? I watched that on my phone. That's why the screen time is what it is. Okay, how do I go to library? Here we go. History. More like her story. If I had my way, you know what I mean? Because of patriarchy. Oh yeah, Nikki Carrion. Carreon. Yeah. Her video, So the Idol got canceled? Because yeah, they decided to only do 5 episodes instead of 6, apparently. So anyways, I watched her video yesterday, so my screen time was more on my phone. And my daily average screen time was 52 minutes on my phone. It was YouTube and then messages. Oh, and gallery. That's interesting. I wonder if that was... Oh, I knew exactly what that was. Wow, this segment is so fucking cool. I love when this segment turns out to actually be meaningful. It's a really good idea, honestly, if you think about it. Regardless of how often it doesn't, seem like it. So what's interesting to me is the last one, which I've never had on here before on the top 3 apps that I've used in a week, is gallery. And you may be thinking, gallery? What are you looking at your photos for a long time? What do you got, nudies on there? What are you looking at, nudies? You might be thinking, no. Well, actually, yes, in a sense. But it's of my own self for a painting, not naked fully, get that image out of your mind, but my belly. And you may be saying, why would I paint my belly? It's for a funny idea where I put pants on the bottom of a canvas and then I'm painting my belly on the canvas. So it's a belly with pants coming off of the bottom of a canvas. I may show you a picture when I finish. I've only just begun. But I was looking at a photo of my belly, okay, which is another word for stomach, essentially. So I was painting a representation of a sort of stomach / belly by looking at my own. And I was also showing, I believe, oh no, that wasn't gallery. That was the PDF sort of like app. I was showing some friends a version of the flow chart I was talking about earlier, getting their thoughts about it. It was very useful to do. So, okay, that was the screen time report. Now let's check the Verbal Journal mailbag. Now you can write into verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com. That's verbaljournalpodcast@gmail.com, and we will get your mail. We didn't get any today. That's fine. So feel free to write in, give your thoughts about the podcast. All right. Last thing I wanted to talk about today. I enjoy the podcast The Sad Boys. It's sort of a video podcast, so it doesn't really feel like I'm watching a podcast, to be honest. It feels more like a video, but I'm not going to quibble about that. I guess it's the only other podcast I watch or listen to besides, and I do watch it sometimes. I guess I listen to it mostly, but it's the only other podcast I listen to besides the Not Even a Show podcast on the Not Even a Show Patreon with Chris James and Ben Fawcett, a great comedian. I like Sad Boys. I like Jarvis Johnson and Jordan Adika. They're two, you probably know about them. They're two very well-known YouTube content creators and very funny, very entertaining, good seeming people. And they make tons of very interesting, funny videos. And they had Drew Gooden on, who's even more famous and successful potentially. I don't really know exactly how their subscriber counts, but he's very well known, obviously, very funny, does commentary, did skits and stuff before, I think was on Vine or whatever. And so I watched some Drew Gooden videos. I do like Danny Gonzalez a bit more. He's a bit more to my taste. Drew's really cool though, and really funny. And I like his, and seeing him on this podcast, I've never liked him so much. He was really fantastic, like fucking fantastic on this Sad Boys podcast. He just shared a lot of stuff about himself and good things and challenges that he's faced, and talked about anxiety in a way that I thought was extremely useful and helpful. He talked about his own experiences with more obsessional types of anxiety, like hypochondria, which is very common. A lot of people deal with all types of that sort of manifestation of anxiety. And so it was really, really cool. He actually talked about it. It's not just like, oh, clap, clap, clap. He talked about anxiety. I'm saying like he really gave a solid rundown of how to deal with obsessional anxiety, of like when you have thoughts over and over, oh, am I sick? Or, oh, am I this or that? So many people deal with that, and it's actually not simple. You don't just, he made the point, you don't just tell yourself no, don't think about it. He laid out exactly how you do it. The idea that you have to sometimes deal with the what if, and deal with, okay, yeah, what if? I guess I'll deal with that if it comes. And he clearly has really worked on his mental health. Not that I'm saying he needed work on it. I'm just saying he comes off as someone who really has put a lot of time and energy into understanding himself and his thoughts and feelings. And it was really great. But what I also wanted to talk about was he brings up this point because I guess they're in Los Angeles, and I had just seen this video. He mentions he was in Los Angeles. Also, one thing he did was go to Joel Haver's, or is it Haver? Go to Joel Haver's house. I have to say Haver. It's got, I don't know. But he was talking about Joel, I'll just say I'm on a first name basis with him. And he made a really funny video, by the way. It's Joel posted this video saying an intruder broke into my home, and it seems totally serious, and you genuinely think it's serious. And then it turns out he's talking about Drew, and Drew broke into his home to like make commentary videos on the different things in his home. It's like a fantastic, funny idea. I think they come up with this shit in like one day, so it's really, really very funny. Even if they come up with it in weeks, it's very funny. But one thing Drew says, which pertains to something we talk about on the pod here, is he talks about art, and he talks about what Joel Haver is doing being art compared to what other people do on the platform, and even what Jarvis Johnson and Jordan Adika do. They don't push back at all, and I think maybe he overstates it a little bit, but they see where he's coming from, and it's really interesting to me because, like, so first of all, he does overstate it. They do a lot of, like, they do explicit like skits sometimes, but they also really do, I think, make art. But it's a spectrum, and it's you can't deny like he's getting at something that feels true for all of them there, and and for maybe some viewers. And it's like, I mean, first of all, I think I think having less sponsors is like a huge fucking part of it. I don't know. I mean, he probably makes less money too. I don't know. He probably makes like significantly less money. Like a sponsor, you can get like probably multiple grand at these guys' levels of YouTube channel. You can probably get multiple grand now for a sponsor. I don't know. Maybe not. But it definitely makes a difference if you're uploading a few videos a month. I mean, so I don't know. But it's not just about sponsors. It's clearly like something more, and you can hear them talk about it on the podcast. But like, it's just interesting to think about how people really understand art. Another thing I was talking about with my friend today, and we were talking about stand-up comedy and improv comedy and what feels more and less like art. And I mean, it's a very personal thing maybe, but I mean, everyone has different needs. Maybe not everyone needs to express quote unquote art. It's not, it's not in the cards. Maybe it's not something everybody wants to be doing. Some people want to make like videos on how to do specific things, and there's an art to that. It's just art for art's sake means something really different, I think, in different contexts. And like, what does that even mean? Like, I mean, it is a thing. There's more and less structured motivations for actions such as creating art. You can have more and less direct motivations. If someone pays me, says, hey, paint this picture, I want it to be X, Y, and Z, that's a lot of structure. If I say, I'm bored tonight, I'm going to sit down at this canvas and see what happens, that's less structure. It's some structure, you could say, my boredom, my blah, blah, blah. There's factors that go into it, but I don't know. It's just interesting to say, like, what is it about and then if you're doing commentary, which all three of them pretty much do, but I think Drew does more skits than Jordan and Jarvis, and skits feel inherently artistic as you sort of stretch further and further away from the one form of the thing you're doing. But then again, it kind of depends. Who's to say commentary? Like, my Breaking Bad video is just like one long bit of commentary, and like, I would say it had, I mean, not commentary in the same sense I was just saying it, because it's a little bit different to talk about a show versus talk about different subjects. Usually these creators are not. I mean, Drew might do stuff about shows and movies. I don't think Jarvis and Jordan usually do, but I think they usually do things about online media. So that's sort of a superficial difference to a certain extent. I'm still doing like commentary, but I would say there are absolutely, this is something I talked about while I was writing the script with a different friend. There's absolutely things where I don't feel that parts of the video are artistic, especially, or, aspects of just like me talking about, like when I talk about sublimation, for instance, like, or just like explaining a concept. But then again, there is always like the way I do it, which is where the art comes in. And that's why anyone can sort of make art. It's just you do something in sort of your relatively unique way and you're making art. But, at the end of the day, I don't want to set a high bar. I don't want to set a low bar either, though, for art. I don't want to gatekeep, but I don't want to say that everything's art because a lot of people don't feel that way. And, I don't think Drew Gooden and Jarvis Johnson and Jordan Adika are being self-flagellating and like overly self-critical when they say this. I think they're expressing, hey, yeah, it doesn't always feel like art, and sometimes it feels like a job probably, or sometimes it feels like not as inspired. But like, does it have to be always inspired to be art? I don't know. I feel like my stuff is most artistic, as I've talked about, when I'm going beyond or away from what I feel like the expectations would be in sort of how I go about addressing something. But I try to always do that. So I feel like I'm always bringing an artistic flair to what I'm doing on the channel. It feels silly to say, oh, the video where I'm painting is more artistic than the video where I'm talking about, this movie about Nietzsche. But then again, there's a big difference between writing fiction and writing about the way that toxic masculinity might relate to capitalism. They use completely different parts of your brain. And I think they light up different parts of your brain, and I think they're different. I just think it's worth doing it all, and there's art is not necessarily better than non-art, but they do different things. And it's interesting to feel out where we feel those differences to be. So thank you so much for listening, and I am going to stop now. I'm going to do some other stuff. I hope you have a fantastic rest of your life until you listen to another podcast, which could be soon. If you want, you can go listen to the other ones on the back catalog. You can scroll back, or find if you're on a YouTube member, you can find, the list of the episodes. Actually, you don't have to be a YouTube member. Well, you do have to be a YouTube member to do that, actually. Yeah. So if you're on Patreon, you just kind of click playlist tag, and then you scroll back that way. Or there's a few various ways. You go sort by audio, but you'd get some non-podcast episodes in there. Very interesting stuff. I'm going to go now. Okay, I'm going to leave you with a little bit of piano that I recorded at the earlier in the day. So enjoy that, and I'll talk to you later. All right, bye.